Coming to you live from our studios in Belize City, this is the evening news on Love Television for Friday, June 17th. We'll get started with a look at the stories making the headlines for today. Minor detained for Friday morning shooting that left 2 men, including a police officer, hospitalized. The People's United Party will not be a part of ongoing Belize-Guatemala discussions. COLA demands clarity on referendum and going to the ICJ. And the top performers in this year's primary school examinations recognized at a special award ceremony. 4 persons are now recovering from gunshot wounds that they received at the Queen Street Police Station after an early morning shootout. The intended target was George Street figure Brandon Tillett, who was exiting the station. Corporal Alric Arnold was on the scene and fired shots at the gunman. Superintendent Alberto Romero of Crime Investigation Branch says the culprit was a 15-year-old minor.
Information gathered that there was an exchange of gunfire between a police officer and a person who apparently shot at the person who was exiting the compound. Investigation revealed that the person exited the compound at the time was Brandon Tillett. He was along with one Elroy Saldana, and they were approached by a male person who fired shots at them. The corporal, who is Alric Arnold, was going towards the Queen Street Police Station. He encountered the shooting. He drew his service weapon, and there was an exchange of gunfire between himself and the gunman. As a result of the exchange of gunfire, 4 persons received various degrees of injuries. Corporal Alric Arnold was shot to the chest and abdomen. Elroy Saldana was shot to the chest. Kian Smith was shot to the elbow, and Graciela Castillo was shot to the calf. Police who were in the compound at the time immediately pursued the suspect, and he was apprehended going towards the swing bridge near the pharmacy. He was detained. A search conducted on him, which police found 1 9mm pistol with 8 live rounds, and he was taken into custody. He's a 15-year-old minor.
Corporal Arnold, who was shot in the chest and abdomen, was saved by his cell phone, which stopped the bullet. Assistant Commissioner of Police Desiree Phillips spoke about the concerns that they now face.
Corporal Arnold received a gunshot wound to the upper chest. He has just completed surgery, a successful surgery, we have to say, and we're thankful that he's in a critical condition, but we are hopeful that he pulls through. But definitely it concerns us that we have persons out there who feel brave enough to come out in broad daylight, not disguised or anything, and would fire upon persons right within the confines of where a police station is. That simply shows that there is a loss of respect for authority, for law and order, but we want to assure the Belizean public that the police will do anything and everything in our power to ensure that persons who perpetrate the law are brought to justice, and swiftly, as is in the case this morning.
We'll have more on this latest shooting incident later on in our newscast. As investigations continue into the shooting this morning at the Queen Street Police Station, leader of the opposition has described the incident as being a part of the country's sad state of affairs.
It's a sad state of affairs. Whilst I don't know all the details at this time, it is a sad state of affairs when we have our young people to be bold enough to say, I'm going to go in front of the police station and shoot somebody and expect to get away with it. We have been saying it from the first time that I was leader of the party, and I want to repeat it again, and soon we are going to be giving our views on the issue of security in the country. Is that we've been saying from the beginning, or for some time now, that not only the police needs help, but even the prosecution, the investigative team, all of them, we need to strengthen them. We need to have more people, we have to have the proper equipment, because what has happened is that too many of our young men in this country believe that, you know what, I got beef with you, I could shoot you because, you know what, 93 out of every 100 that where people get shoot, then get away with it. So I am sure I'm going to be one of those 93, so I'm going to shoot you and I think I'll get away with it. We have to make sure that we can strengthen that part of the element of when it comes to national security. We need to take a very close look at what the police is doing, the prosecution, but also at the social issues that these young people are facing. They can't get a job or they can't go to school because they can't afford it. I said it before that when it comes to the south side of Belize City, because it's such a small area, we as a government can go in there and make a meaningful change, make the monies available to make those kids go to school, that they stay to school, and that if we have to open up educational centers so that they can go and do their homework, let's do that. If we have to give them a plate of food, let's do that so that they stay in school. Because if we don't do that and we're not prepared to spend the money or make it an investment in these young people, it is going to cost us a lot more in the years to come, and unfortunately we're starting to reap some of that right now.
The minor who is in custody for this morning's shooting is no stranger to law enforcement authorities, as Love News understand that he had previously confessed to a separate shooting incident. The word annexation means the takeover or seizure of something, especially territory. 10 days ago, in an interview with the Foreign Affairs Minister Wilfred Elrington, was asked about Guatemala's annexation to the Sarstún River. The question was asked subsequent to several instances where the Guatemalan armed forces had blocked Belizeans from traversing those waters. Minister Elrington had told the media at that time that there was no such annexation taking place.
You can't annex what you already claim to own. A good English person like yourself will understand it very readily. I don't have to
Yes,
impress
but-
that upon you.
but that's
If
a
this is
semantic
mine,
differentiation.
then I can't be annexing it.
Yes, but it is yours only in name. When you start to assert,
It still will
your
not
right
be.
to-
It
well,
will
then-
still not be an annexation.
But then
An
after we
annexation-
concede the river-
an annexation imports that you take in over. But we can't concede the river because they are claiming the whole river all the while from 21st of September 1939. That's why it's so important for us to be precise and to understand the historical facts. Because once you purport to repudiate, you cease to have a difference. And it's one territory. So you can't be annexing it if you already own it.
Leader of the opposition, John Briceño, however, told the media today that every action by the Guatemalan has been showing an annexation of the area, contrary to what the Foreign Affairs Minister is saying.
Do you want to go by what the foreign minister is talking about? No. I know I don't. And I'm saying that what has happened is that there is an annexation of the Sarstún River. Like it or not, whatever language you want to use, whatever pretty words you want to use, the fact of the matter is that Guatemala has taken over the northern part of the Sarstún River. The 1859 treaty is very clear, and there's even a map in the 1859 treaty that shows the actual boundaries between Belize and Guatemala in the Sarstún. The 1931 diplomatic note, again, that was signed by by Guatemala and England, agreed to that, and they went forward a few years later to actually go and put the boundaries, the borders, and it has always been respected. For all of a sudden, to the Guatemalans talking about the protocol, to respect the protocol, I don't know what protocol they are talking, because as far as we know in the PUP, there have been no such protocol. So if you want to go by what the foreign minister is talking about, that is fine. I respect your decision. I'm telling us by what we are going about, we in the PUP, and what the Belizean people are saying.
Briceño went on to state that Minister Elrington has taken more importance on being friends with the Guatemala foreign minister than addressing the Belizeans' concerns.
Because unfortunately what is happening to us, I believe, is that our foreign minister goes to great lengths to point out that, oh, he and the foreign minister from Guatemala are such great friends. And he goes to such great lengths to be nice and courteous and almost being careful on what message he wants to say, our foreign minister, so as not to offend the foreign minister from Guatemala. But the foreign minister from Guatemala loses no sleep in being aggressive and being disingenuous in what he says about us. We felt that it was an opportunity for us to be able to be there along with the government and to meet with all of these countries to tell them what really is taking place on the ground. That this is not what Guatemala and they say, oh, we are friends and we are peace. That's not true. That's not what's taking place. So I wrote a letter to the Prime Minister, and he sent a very, very short and almost a dismissive letter about our recommendations about going to the OAS General Assembly meeting. And that is why we felt that, why are we going to go to Washington, D.C. if you're not going to take seriously our comments, our suggestions, our recommendations, and our commitment to this process?
As recent as yesterday, the Guatemalan military had attempted to stop the head of the Belize Territorial Volunteers and media colleagues from being in the Sarstoon River. When John Briceño was elected to head the People's United Party, one of the first things he took on was extending a hand of cooperation to the government of Belize when it comes to the discussions and negotiations between Belize and Guatemala. The Barrow administration, however, has seemingly been giving the PUP a hard time when it comes to inclusion into those meetings. Opposition leader John Briceño spoke on his party's interest and concerns in the Belize-Guatemala territorial differendum and their recent decision to not continue taking part in these discussions.
If there is one issue that Belizeans expect us to remain united, it is the Guatemala's unfounded claim over Belize. It is for this reason that my party and I have done everything possible to work with the government in a bipartisan effort. Regrettably, this effort has become a partnership of convenience by the UDP administration. We in the PUP represent over 67,000 Belizeans that voted for us in the last election, and we owe it to them and to every other Belizean to ensure that the government protects every single inch of Belizean land and water. That is why I have decided that until the government is prepared to work with us in a meaningful partnership on this issue, we will not attend the talks in Washington, D.C. on next week, Tuesday.
With the decision to not allow themselves to be bullied by the government of Belize, Briceño also spoke of several demands they have put together to the government, including the internationalization of Guatemala's aggression.
We in the PUP demand that Guatemala respect our territory and immediately stop their armed forces from entering Belizean waters. 2, we categorically reject Guatemala's illegal annexation to the Sarstoon. And 3, we call on the government for the appointment of a national team that will deal with the Belize-Guatemala referendum. The national team will have 3 objectives. 1, coordination. 2, develop a cohesive strategy with dealing with this issue. And 3, internationalize Guatemala's illegal tactics and behavior.
Opposition leader John Briceño made these remarks earlier today at the PUP's secretariat in a press briefing. Yesterday, we told you of the incident where Will Mejia of the Belize Territorial Volunteers and members of the media were blocked from the Sarstoon by the Guatemalan armed forces. Opposition leader speaks on that incident.
Yesterday, we were very disturbed when we heard that the media was blocked from entering the Sarstoon River, our portion of the Sarstoon River. They were blocked by the Guatemalan armed forces, and it was clear that they were in our territorial water. That is why we are demanding from the government that they send a very strong diplomatic note to Guatemala and copied to the Organization of American States, the OAS, demanding that the Guatemalan armed forces remain on their side of the Sarstoon River.
COLA's president Giovanni Brackett today pointed out that there was much clamor for the construction of the forward operating base at the Sarstoon. Now that the base is there and is manned by Belize's military, the government seems to still be cowering at the Guatemalan armed forces. Briceño spoke of this.
I can tell you that we in the PUP will not allow these illegal incursions into our land, into our territory, into our rivers, into our sea. Now, as to be able to say that we want to pick a military fight with the Guatemalans, of course we don't want to, because they are at about 30,000, we're about 1,000, so we have to be realistic. But what is important is that we have to make sure that the international community know at all times what is taking place. But once Guatemalans are illegally in our waters or are in our land, then we need to act decisively. Not necessarily with force in a sense, but to be able to tell them that they're in our area and that they need to get out.
On Wednesday, June 15th, the 46th General Assembly meeting of the OAS concluded in Santo Domingo. As we reported earlier this week, the People's United Party was disinvited from attending that meeting, a move that has been frowned upon by the party, as explained by the leader of the opposition, John Briceño.
We are also disappointed that the UDP government, despite a letter that I wrote to the Prime Minister explaining the importance for the PUP to be at the meeting of the OAS General Assembly meeting in the Dominican Republic, chose not to take a bipartisan approach to that meeting. And today we are seeing the results of that decision. We were invited to go to the General Assembly meeting. We appointed Ambassador Lisa Schumann to represent us at that meeting, but it seems that all of a sudden the Foreign Minister from Guatemala felt that he was going to be too busy and would be unable to have or to hold a meeting with us. And because of that, then the government decided, well, if we don't meet Guatemala, then we don't need you around. We felt differently. That is why I wrote the Prime Minister a letter explaining that, telling him that whilst Guatemala is not going to or do not want to meet with us, we knew that there was a resolution in the works. We knew already that 21 countries are prepared to sign on to that resolution. And we felt that with us there, we can help strengthening that resolution. And secondly, that we can take the opportunity to talk to all the member states about what is taking place.
So with the PUP not planning to attend next week's meeting in Washington, D.C., the media asked why such a harsh move over the disinvite from the OAS Assembly meeting.
It has been showing a pattern, that the government has been showing a pattern of what we call this partnership of convenience. When it is convenient for them, they want to drag us along, and when it is not, they're just very dismissive. And we have several instances. For instance, the meeting in Washington about 2 months ago. Now here we have the Dominican Republic, a very important meeting. It's not about us not going to the Dominican Republic, but it's more a pattern of behavior from the government. We send these letters trying to advise the Prime Minister, and then he sends a very short, court letter, pretty much dismissing what you have to say. So if you don't want to listen to us, why is it that you want us around?
Briceño says despite the cancellation of the meeting by Guatemala's foreign minister, the opposition could have still played a vital role at the forum in Santo Domingo.
We felt that it was an opportunity for us to be able to be there along with the government and to meet with all of these countries to tell them what really is taking place on the ground. That this is not what Guatemala and they say, oh, we are friends and we are peace. That's not true. That's not what's taking place. So I wrote a letter to the Prime Minister, and he sent a very, very short and almost a dismissive letter about our recommendations about going to the OAS General Assembly meeting. And that is why we felt that, why are we going to go to Washington, D.C. if you're not going to take seriously our comments, our suggestions, our recommendations, and our commitment to this process?
Opposition leader John Briceño says that the party's executive will be meeting next week to discuss their way forward. Wednesday saw the closing of the 46th General Assembly meeting of the Organization of American States held in Santo Domingo. As we reported earlier this week, there was a declaration approved by the OAS in which Belize and Guatemala have committed to ongoing efforts to find a peaceful solution to the border dispute. Belize's Foreign Minister, Wilfred Elrington, who spoke at the assembly, noted that Belize is working with Guatemala to see that this matter is resolved successfully at the International Court of Justice at the quickest time and to ensure that between now and then there is peace between the people of both countries. That statement has become a sticking point for several persons as it is being pointed on social media, and today the Coalition Organized for Liberty Through Action, COLA, has issued a statement on this issue. COLA's release stated, quote, "Recently the government of Belize has been pushing its ICJ agenda abroad, not a referendum agenda, but an ICJ agenda." COLA's president, Giovanni Brackett, spoke to the media on the matter.
I've been saying at COLA from a long time ago that the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the government, definitely by extension, have given the impression that this, or we already have made up our mind that we're going to go to the ICJ. And the talks have been more about the ICJ rather than being a referendum process. And the way we have been made to understand from 2008 is that from the signing of the compromise that there has to be a joint referendum between the two countries. Yes, that was changed. Again, we appeased the Guatemalans. We changed that we could have done it on separate dates. However, there's no longer like a talk about the referendum. It's just strictly about going to the ICJ, and that we find it very disingenuous to the international community, and it's not representative of where we are as a country. And I think it's very rude and disrespectful to the people of Belize of ignoring that process. And I think it's like a brainwashing that the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the government, the Prime Minister, they're hoping that speaking this way would actually give them a yes at the going to the International Court of Justice. And COLA wants to alert the people of Belize that we have not signed up, we have not gone through a referendum, and there are still ways to go. There's still a referendum process, and that should not be ignored. That's the very first point of our press release. COLA also in that release looked at the fact that we need to go back to the awareness campaign that Stuart Lester and them had started to alert the people that we are still at a referendum process, and that discussion needs to be started all over again.
In addition to those demands, COLA is asking for a full and intensive clarification of the situation in the Sarstoon, saying that contrary to what government continues to report, Belizeans have not and clearly will not be allowed into the river.
The Sarstoon is still a huge issue for COLA. We've built a base, but the Guatemalans have gone ahead to assert their power over the entire Sarstoon, and we have not, even though we've built those bases, we have failed to assert our level of power over our side of the Sarstoon. Now, when I've talked to my friends in the CARICOM and other people abroad, some people are really ridiculous. They find it ridiculous. How can you have a base and not assert yourself? I mean, you don't have to have a 1,000,000-man army or to actually assert yourself. There's ways how you can diplomatically on the front deal with that, and the army has a role to play. So if the Guatemalans come to into our water, we need to hold our cameras, and our soldiers need to have cameras as well, because you've seen they have their cell phones, and we need to assert ourselves and arrest their people who are illegally fishing in our waters and send them back just as how they are doing to us. But if we fail to assert ourselves, it's like a squatters who is on our land for like 10-15 years, and if you fail to remove them, eventually they'll have that land. And so we are cautioning the public that, you know, we cannot accept this from our government. Our government needs to assert power over the Sarstone and defend the Sarstone.
Brackett says COLA has therefore made demands through this release, with one of them being a clarification on the referendum issue. COLA went on to speak on the Referendum Act, noting, quote, Guatemala has requested that our government amend the Referendum Act to allow a simple majority to pass the vote. Currently, the threshold is at 60%. COLA categorically rejects any amendment to our Referendum Act, 1, to accede to a request from Guatemala, and 2, without full and proper consultation with the Belizean people. It seems that all concessions in this entire negotiation process have been made by Belize, while Guatemala plays puppet master. A resolution was approved at the recent General Assembly meeting of the OAS held in Santo Domingo. The People's United Party, however, is disappointed at this recent document, as it is in no way helps Belize's sovereignty.
We are deeply disappointed in the resolution that was passed. The resolution clearly shows no progress made towards stopping Guatemala from annexing our portion of the Sarsoon River. In fact, the resolution deals mostly about restricting our efforts to bring or to inform the international community about Guatemala's illegal annexation of our portion of the Sarsoon. What is extremely disturbing is that while the UDP administration was negotiating a resolution on talking about peace in the Dominican Republic, the Guatemalan government was continuing their illegal activities in the Sarsoon and turning back Belizeans from visiting our territorial or sovereign territory.
Briceño says he had written to the Prime Minister of Belize, Dean Barrow, on how the opposition could have helped had they attended the OAS General Assembly. He added that the foreign minister was not advised properly, as there are some discrepancies in the agreement.
Their Belizean leaders
Pointed out to the Prime Minister in a letter that I wrote to him, pointing out that at this General Assembly we have all the member states of the OAS, and that we could have taken that opportunity to speak with them one-on-one. We don't have to go to Argentina. Argentina would have been right here in the Dominican Republic, and to point out the illegal activities and the aggressive behavior and the attempt annexation of the Sarsoon by the Guatemalans. There have been several resolutions that the government has prepared. They don't copy it to us. They don't ask for our input. And certainly with this resolution that was passed, if we were there, we certainly would have strengthened that resolution. And since that we brought that up, I believe that the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister did not get proper advice, or he, again, I don't know what he was thinking. But when the resolution refers to the agreement of 2000 between Belize and Guatemala, which is no longer in effect, Guatemala skillfully had that included in the agreement. Why? Because that basically gives a gag order that we can't say anything unless it is we do it jointly, and did not use or refer to the confidence building measures of 2005, which would have given us more latitude to be able to go and internationalize what is happening right now here in the Sarsoon. And secondly, in that resolution, it says nothing about Guatemala's aggression, about Guatemala's annexation of the Sarsoon. These are two very, very important points that the foreign ministers fell asleep or overlooked If we were there, I could assure you that we would have ensured that that one, we don't refer to the 2000 agreement, and secondly, that something must be said in there about Guatemala's aggressive behavior to Belize, towards Belize.
The resolution was approved on Wednesday, June 15th. This morning, the Primary School Examination Excellence Awards were held in Belize City. 12 students from all over the country were awarded for topping the examinations. Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Elodio Aragon, spoke about the importance of recognizing students and teachers who put hard work into the PSEs.
This is a collaborative effort between students, parents, teachers, and schools, and of course supporting communities. I think that when we look at education, that's a business that everybody has a stake in. Everybody in this country, and I think that our students need the support. We need the students need the parental support. They need also the school support in terms of the teachers. When you look at the school itself, we need every single person who is within the education system to do their part. I think today you saw where we highlighted the schools that are doing overall well. We look at the students who do well on their PSEs, we look at the recognizing teachers. So there's a lot of things happening in terms of moving education forward. But one thing we understand is that there's need for supporting the students. And I think that has, from a lot of the students in my speech, I mentioned about the students who have been interviewed and what they mentioned about what they had to do to do well. And one of the biggest things is you have to study, you have to get that support from your parents and teachers and the school. So, that goes to show that education is everybody's business, and we need to do our part so that we have a more productive country, a more successful students when they sit in exams such as PSE.
Top performers were Kenley Young from St. Andrew's Anglican School in Cayo and Angelina Urbina from La Immaculada Roman Catholic School in Orange Walk Town. Young spoke with us about her reaction when she heard she placed first and how her teachers helped her achieve excellence.
In my mind, it went like blank. I had no idea how to react because, I thought that I would do well, but I didn't so well. So it went blank for a while, and then the next time I did the picture, then the thoughts came in and like, oh my God, I just did this. I beat 7,000 children. I won. Because as soon as you got into the gates,
the welcoming, the warmth of the teachers, as they see you, they greet you good morning, you greet them back, you go to your class, and then your classmates are there, they tell you what they did for the day, and then when it's time for school to go in class, like the mood doesn't change because your teachers are friendly, and then they teach you in steps that if you don't understand something, they will go through it as much as they have to so that you can learn it. So it's like almost your mom teaching you.
For her part, Urbina spoke with us about her initial reaction and what her future aspirations are.
I was so shocked. Like I said, I couldn't believe it. I thought it was just a joke or something. I didn't know how to react to it. It took me a while for it to kick in, and right now I still can't believe it, and it's happening. I knew it's like those corny movies where I didn't pinch me think I would be able to do this well.
How do you feel now that really you've played so high? Did you know that you were capable of doing this?
I don't explain it. It's just a feeling of being proud and happy for myself. But I've been thinking that maybe I'd like to be a marine biologist when I get older. Definitely it's going to take a lot of work, but I just want to make sure that I'll be able to contribute to my country in the future.
Proud parent and teacher of the top PSE performers Kenley Young and Angelina Urbina spoke about the process of preparing the students and the advice they have for parents of future PSE takers.
Okay, we have our what we call the mocks. We make sure we complete those the proper way. It's not just to administer mocks. We do it the proper way. We give them the practice. We practice a lot. We make up questions as we're going along. the children, they do their own research, they do their own presentation, they teach their own classmates. You know, we just don't give them, we let them do a lot of the work.
Okay, start preparing, reviewing their homework, doing extra. You know, the teachers do a lot, but parents play an important role. You have to be there for them.
Very important. And as long as she has the will to go, we will push as much as she would like.
My role is mostly I'm the math guy. You know, I get check all math homework, and my wife, she deal with the probably social studies and other thing, and then also with the stories that she wrote, and so you got to check it, make sure everything is good, and a lot of support, giving her that support, making her know that she has to do well.
To help their children at home, to be in touch each and every day with them at school, because checking on them at school is a very important part of their education, and making sure that that they just remain focused, that they keep each and every day that they are there for them.
Both first placers received 391 points out of 400. Second place was Marcela Lozano from Bernice York Institute of Learning with 388 points, and third place was Hugo Lin from Belize Elementary School with 386 points. Recently, we told you of the Managed Access Initiative taken by the Fisheries Department, where Belize's waters are being divided into 9 fishing areas, with commercial fishermen having access of up to 2 areas and the opportunity to use larger deep water areas known as Area 9. Under this program, the Fisheries Department will manage better for improved sustainability, and the fishers will have ownership of their own fishing areas. It is an initiative that has put Belize on the international scene as being the first country in the world to adopt a national, multi-species secure fishing rights program for small-scale fishers. In today's edition of the Undercurrent Online News, which focuses on global marine life, it noted, quote, "After a long struggle to address illegal fishing and the threat of overfishing, a partnership of fishing communities and non-governmental organizations under the leadership of Belize's Fisheries Department created a new system that empowers fishermen and women to conserve and protect their fishery while still using its resources to provide for their families." End of quote. According to the Senior Vice President for Oceans at the Environmental Defense Fund, Amanda Leland, Belize is showing the world the way forward. The adoption of fishing rights nationwide will serve as proof to other countries with small-scale fisheries that reforms can create a benefit for not only the environment, but for the people who depend on fish for food and income. Meanwhile, Larry Epstein, who is EDF's country director for Belize, stated that at the 2 pilot sites, fishermen now enjoy better catches. Scientific surveys show the first signs of recovery of fish, and fishermen are complying with regulations like never before. Fishing violations are down 60%, and more than 90% of fishermen are submitting their catch data, leading to more accountability and better science. The managed access areas were officially launched on June 13th, 2016. Over 20 primary school students graduated from the GREAT program today. Correspondent Fem Cruz has the details.
The Gang Resistance Education and Training Program called GREAT held a graduation ceremony for 26 students from St. Michael RC School in the Las Flores area of Belmopan. Senior Superintendent Howell Juliet spoke to Love News about the 13 weeks training.
We're very happy to be here today. It's momentous for us as Belmopan Police, but more so for the 26 students who have just graduated from this 13-week program. These students are better able now. They are equipped to deal with issues such as bullying. They've learned new skills and behaviors. I've challenged them to go out and teach other people, be it a brother, a sister, a neighbor, a friend, so that others could learn from an early stage to resist the enticement of getting into gangs or other criminal activities. For this, I would like to thank the U.S. Embassy, who was behind this fully, PC Koch from the Belmopan Police Department, who was here weekly for 13 weeks, imparting the knowledge to the young people, to the parents who supported their kids during this time, to the staff of St. Michael's RC School, and to the principal, Mrs. Sanchez, who was very instrumental in having our officers hosted here on a weekly basis for the last 13 weeks.
Joanne Sanchez, the principal, says that she is thankful for this program coming to their school.
We are so grateful for today that the GREAT program has been a part of our school. The police department approached our school in the earlier part of this year with the initiative to start this program, which we believe was very, very important for our students. So today we want to give thanks for the network we have established with the police department, with the U.S. Embassy, with the U.S. Marines in helping our students to be able to resist gangs in our community.
Love News spoke to two of those proud students who graduated this morning.
My name is Marlene Iko. The program helped me because I can learn not to join gangs and violence in my community. It learned me about empathy for others, anger management, thinking of others, dealing with peers, role in the community, how to solve conflicts, and effective communication.
I'm Anaï Figueroa. The GREAT program is about learning skills and behaviors that make it easier to resist and avoid negative influences.
This is Brother Fem Cruz reporting from the nation's capital city, Belmopan, for Love FM.
Our thought conditioner for today comes from Ralph Waldo Emerson. It reads, quote, "The glory of friendship is not the outstretched hand, not the kindly smile, nor the joy of companionship. It is the spiritual inspiration that comes to one when you discover that someone else believes in you and is willing to trust you with a friendship." End of quote. This has been the Evening News on Love Television, and we invite you to log on to our website at www.lovefm.com for the transcripts of our news stories. Thank you for watching us. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. I am Taryn Butcher.